review this thing, we're going to review this thing, the Tactacam Spotter LR. This is Adrian with Review This Thing. Before we do that, do us a big favor, click that subscribe button, click that notification bell. If you have a Spotter LR and you want to let us know what you think about it, please comment below. If you have any questions, also put those below. That helps us out big time and we really appreciate it. Also, make sure you come back next week when we'll have a brand new review. You don't want to miss it, so subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Now it's time to get into the Tactacam Spotter LR. As we always do, we're going to cover the facts. The first part is fit. There are a couple parts of fit that I want to talk about. The first is just the size of the device. I measured it earlier and it's like 3 or so inches wide, 3 or so inches tall, 3 to 4 inches deep. And it weighs right at 7 ounces, so it's not even half a pound. So if you're backcountry hunting or something like that, it is going to take up extra space. But if you're already carrying around a spotting scope, it's not really that much extra space. And it's super light, so you're really not going to notice it. The second part is how is it going to fit on your spotting scope. It comes with several different sizing adapters so that you can fit it on several different size spotting scopes. We also figured out today that it comes with a couple of small enough adapters that you can actually fit it on your binoculars as well. Once you find the adapter that's pretty close, it has this quick connect that helps squeeze that on there. So you should be able to figure out a way to get it to fit on pretty much any spotting scope and several different pair of binoculars as well. One thing you want to make sure you get the adapter, the shim, all that stuff on there really good. A few weeks ago we were filming some elk and we didn't have it on there well, so there was a ring that was around the outside unless we were zoomed in all the way. We figured out if we just adjusted that, it actually ended up being perfect and it wasn't anything to do with the device itself. Just need to make sure you get it fit well. So what kind of score are we going to give fit? Overall, we've been really pleased. We haven't tried it on a ton of other ones, but we've been able to fit it on what we have, so that works out great for us. So because of that, we're going to give fit a 5 out of 5. Now is the Tactacam Spotter LR as advertised. So the number one thing that the Tactacam Spotter advertises is that it's going to change everything that you ever knew about long range filming. So this is definitely my favorite part of this device. For years we've been shooting our rifles at 100 yards and we got the splatter targets, which helped some, but being able to put this on that target and clearly see where you made your hit has been a tremendous help. So now we don't have to take a few shots, stop, walk all the way down, make sure where it was, plug up the holes, walk back. We're able to use this device very easily. We also, just to give it a good test, we're able to go out and shoot it at 200 yards. And then this video is at 300 yards. Same idea, you can see with those splatter targets especially, you can pretty clearly see where you're making contact. And especially when you're getting those 200 and 300 yard ranges, you really don't want to have to walk down there and check that before you're able to shoot some more. And in this video, the target was actually 615 yards away. You can see here that what we really couldn't see with our naked eye, you can see very well on this video. And in these clips of elk, they were somewhere between 300 and 400 yards away. Again, really clear at that 300 and 400 yard range. One thing that I really want to point out in this clip though, is this elk was 300 or 400 yards away and the microphone actually picks up the bugle. And in this clip, you can actually hear the impact of the bullet hitting that target. Didn't think it would, but it did. And so really impressed that the microphone was able to do that. Another thing that they advertise about the Spotter LR is the HD screen helps tremendously in decreasing eye strain. This is another absolutely fantastic part. I didn't realize how much it would relieve eye strain until at one point we took it off while we were watching the elk and just looked through it. And I mean, it didn't take many seconds at all before my face got really tired of being scrunched up and looking through there. So realize how very helpful this is. And you can use the screen up like this. So if the scope is elevated, you can just tilt it down and be able to see. You can also just spin it around and it'll go flush. And there's a setting where you can flip it so it won't be upside down on you. And finally, they advertise one-touch recording. Pretty much you turn it on, whenever you're ready to record, you just hit that button again and it starts recording. You're tired of recording, you hit the button again and it pauses. And I've already shown you a few videos, but especially if you have a good quality spotting scope, the quality videos you're going to get through this thing are absolutely great. So is the Spotter LR as advertised? Based on those things we talked about, I'm going to have to say it is because it does just that. Because of that, we're going to give as advertised a 5 out of 5. Now on to construction and durability. So I mentioned the sizing of the device. It's actually, pretty small, compact, very light, so it isn't going to be cumbersome, hard to carry around with you. And even though it is light, obviously it's going to be made of plastic, but it seems to have held up really well. We've had ours for 8 or 9 months or so. Used it several times and probably dropped it several times. And so far so good, it's held up really well. One really nice thing about the Spotter LR is that it uses the same batteries as other Tactacam products. If you leave it running pretty consistently, we found, I think about 3 to 4 hours is about the max that it's gonna run. You're definitely gonna wanna have some extra batteries. So being able to have multiple devices use the same ones is a big help. Another cool feature that we already talked about, but the Tactacam Spotter LR comes with several different sizing shims. I mentioned this in this section just because I know there are other products that are very similar that are probably a little cheaper. And one of those is the phone scope, and we have one of those and we like it and we've used it. But there's two things I want to point out that make this different. One is that in order to use your phone with a phone scope, you have to buy an adapter for your phone. So if you have different phones or if you change phones, then you have to get a new adapter. And you have to have a different adapter for each of your devices, whether it's your spotting scope or your binoculars. When you buy this one kit, it has everything that you need. Also, just on that same phone scope topic, another thing I really like about the Spotter LR is that it's a dedicated device. So you just put this on your spotting scope and you leave it. If you want to use your phone to make a phone call or answer a text or use your OnX map or anything like that, you don't then have to like take it off, do it, put it back on. And you're not using your phone's battery to look at things through it or to record. Now, one thing that would be a little bit of probably a plus for the phone scope maybe is that the screen on the Tactacam is really small. Now, obviously, in order for the device to be small, the screen has to be small. But the way that we combat that is the Spotter LR has its own app. And whenever we're going shoot, we just set the iPad up and connect it, and then you can see the screen on that. From the app, you can also just download the footage. Sometimes that takes a little while, but most of the time that's because you're not under Wi-Fi, but trying to just use cellular service. That's one really nice thing because you don't have to wait to get home and download the things from the SD card. Speaking of the SD card, you want to make sure before you ever use it that you do format it. Also want to make sure that like between uses, if you take the SD card and download everything, go ahead and delete it and format it just to make sure it's cleared, ready to use every time that you want to use the device. Also with that SD card, you want to make sure that it's a U3. Because it is 4K, you need a really high quality card for everything to run smoothly and to be able to download. So how do we feel about construction and durability? Overall, very pleased. We feel like the size is good. We talked about that. Just being able to use all the features is also really good. The only few issues, like the screen being small, we had ways around that. So overall, very happy, very pleased. We're going to give construction and durability a 5 out of 5. Now on to testimonials and reviews. One of the main things people complained about is that the device would freeze up. We did have some issues with that. The way that I would combat it was just to take the battery out and put it back in. The problem with that obviously is if you're in the middle of something and you're trying to record, you don't want to have to go through all that. Got in touch with customer service and we ran a firmware update just through the app, super easy. So far, it hasn't frozen up again, but I was assured by customer service if it does, just to contact them again, and we'd keep working through some steps to get it figured out. The other complaint was that the batteries ran out really quickly. We talked about this a little bit. If you're just looking through the scope, then I think we were able to get probably about 3 or 4 hours. If you're recording a lot, it probably is gonna be like 1.5 to 2 hours. So just make sure you have a lot of batteries. Someone else complained that the adapters aren't rubber lined. I didn't really pay attention to that until I read that complaint. So it obviously didn't bother me, but it probably would be kind of cool if the adapters did have rubber and then they would hang on to your spotting scope a little bit better too. And the final biggest complaint was that it's really hard to get the battery out. I haven't ever noticed any trouble doing that, but I have really small fingers, so I can just stick my fingers in there and kind of pinch it and pull it out. They also complained that you can't take it out with gloves, which is pretty much probably true. As always, testimonials and reviews gets the score that we found, so that is a 4.3 out of 5. Now for the reason that you are here, should you buy this thing? We really like having this Spotter LR. We haven't been able to take it on any backcountry western hunting trips yet where we were going to do a lot of glassing, but just those few days we were able to watch the elk through it and see elk 300-400 yards away, super clear on a big screen. Was awesome. The main thing we love about it is it really has changed the way that we shoot. 100 yards, 200, even 300, even 600, we're able to see what we need to see and not have to walk all those hundreds of yards down and back however many times we want to shoot. This retails for about $300, which is more expensive than some of those other devices. But for what it has done for us, for the ability to just have it there, dedicated, it's doing its thing and we can still use our phones to do other things, and just the quality and being able to just watch it through the app, for us it's been absolutely totally worth it. So because of that, should you buy this thing? I think I'm going to have to give it a 5 out of 5.
Thanks so much for watching our video. While you're here, watch a whole bunch of other videos. Give us a thumbs up. Share this video. Also, while you're here, if you have a Spotter LR, comment below and let us know what you think and ask any other questions. And please do us a favor and subscribe to our channel.